The American diet is something that many people from other countries talk about. Some countries say things like, oh, the American diet looks so tasty with all of their things like hamburgers and pizza and comfort foods. Other countries look at it and they say, oh my goodness, it's so fattening. They actually add so much sugar and fat to their foods. I can't comprehend it. Well, the funny thing about both those comments is that they're true. The American diet is very tasty. We know how to make comfort food well, but we also pay the price for it. The American diet, though, is worse than we can imagine. It's worse than just adding sugar and fat to the food. It's, a lot of people don't even realize what they're eating, or let alone what's been put into their food. In 2016, the CDC estimated that 2 billion people a year were struggling with obesity. That's 39.8% of the population. Compare that to the 1940s, when less than 10% of the people were classified as obese or fat, and even less than that had diseases related to food problems. Now you go from 1940 to 2007, and we have over 80% of the people that have diseases related to food or are classified as obese. That was 11 years ago, so where are we at today? Well, we know that we're just getting worse, especially with the obesity epidemic that there is today and the diabetes epidemic that there is. So we see that we're getting worse, and people are saying that we need to make a change, but where do we really start to make the change? Well, in order to make that change, you have to start by understanding what's wrong with the food and what the consequences are for eating the way we have been. Then, when you know those two things, you go to learning how to eat and knowing that there's a diet out there that's made by God. However, a lot of people will say that when you eat food made by God and not the man-made food, you're depriving yourself. It's really not depriving yourself, but rather you're thriving because you're choosing to eat right and you're allowing your body to be healthier and possibly extend your lifetime. So now we need to look at what is wrong with the food, though. We need to learn where the bad things are in it. Let's look at what the majority of Americans eat, specifically teenage Americans. Processed, overcooked foods. Americans eat hot dogs, french fries, hamburgers, pizzas, baked bread, pizza pockets. Everything's cooked. I like to say it's literally cooked to death. In other words, the good healthy enzymes in the food have been cooked out and destroyed. You can call the American diet the dead American diet because it literally has no benefit to your body at that point. If you remember in biology class in high school, you learned that when a protein is heated up, it denatures itself and changes shape, so then it doesn't do what it was originally meant to do. That's the exact same thing with the enzymes in the food. The enzymes are heated up and then destroyed, which causes them to not do anything for your body. When someone kills the enzymes in their food, their body will still make the enzymes to replace them, but this is expending vital metabolic enzymes needed for rebuilding their body. You're making your body do a process that it originally wouldn't have had to do had you been eating the proper way. And as a result, people won't have a strong, healthy immune system that their bodies need to thrive just because their bodies are having to do extra processes needed to survive that it wouldn't have had to do before had it been fed properly. So we have no enzymes in food, but then the American diet is absolutely loaded with sugar. It's estimated that Americans consume over 30 teaspoons or 16 tablespoons of sugar a day. To show an example of how much sugar that is, one can of regular soda only has about 10 teaspoons of sugar in it. So where is the rest of the sugar coming from? Well, even though many people resist the urge to add sugar to their food, they don't understand how much sugar is added to processed foods. A person may think, oh, it doesn't say sugar on the label, it's totally fine. And while this is right, this is a game that food companies play with people. Sugar is hidden in today's world by the names corn syrup, dextrose, or glucose. Pretty much any package that the ingredients are studied will likely have these names on it. So we have no good enzymes, a ton of sugar in food, but another harmful component of processed foods is the chemical preservatives that are added to foods. 3 most common preservatives are labeled as benzoates, such as sodium benzoate, nitrates, such as sodium nitrate, and sulfites, such as sulfur dioxide. Just the name of the chemicals alone should make someone not want to put them in their bodies. The preservatives in food are terrifying. Preservatives stop the fermentation of food, which causes them to be much harder to be broken down by the body. Pretty much you're not able to digest it because it can't be broken down at all. Preservatives have also been shown to petrify organs in the body. Someone may think, well, why would it do that? But if you really think about it, our organs are like a piece of steak. Preservatives are put on steaks in the stores to keep them from rotting, so it would react the same way in our bodies. But because preservatives stop the degrading process, over time these preservatives cause the organs to literally turn to stone. In conclusion with this topic, the American food is nothing but harmful for the body. The food is so poor in nutrients that over $50 billion a year is spent on the supplement industry because we have to replace what we're not getting in food anymore. Learning what is wrong with food is the first step to changing the quality of health that a person can experience. If you don't know important information like this, then what you don't know literally will be killing you. The next step is understanding the consequences of the choices that you make with food. So even after some people learn about the poor quality of the food that we eat today, they still choose to ignore it and they eat the harmful foods. They don't focus on their future and the consequences they will be paying if they continue to follow the path they are currently going down. Surprisingly, most of the common diseases that we have heard of today are due to not having health in food. We don't have the nutrients, the enzymes that causes us to get things like hypoglycemia or diabetes. It causes people to get obese. We have decreased immune systems, behavioral disorders, osteoporosis, yeast overgrowth, sugar addictions, and that's just naming a few. A lot of people would ask, how could I get low blood sugar when I eat so much sugar though? Which is what hypoglycemia is. Well, when someone consumes sugar, the beta cells of the pancreas secrete the hormone insulin. Insulin lowers blood sugar levels and is necessary for a body to use glucose, which produces energy. However, if excess amounts of sugary foods are eaten, such as cookies, sodas, or pies, excessive insulin may be secreted, which may drive the blood sugar too low. As a result, people may become shaky and lightheaded due to blood sugar. Some people even pass out. This is a clear sign of hypoglycemia. High insulin levels, which are caused by sugar and preservative chemicals, will trigger the body to hold on to fat and not release it. This is the reason that most diabetics gain weight when they begin taking insulin. Insulin tells the body to store fat, and sugars and chemicals trigger the pancreas to release more insulin. Many people are caught in this vicious cycle of eating sugar, which then leads to elevated insulin levels, which then causes fat to be stored. Elevated insulin also leads to low blood sugar and cravings for sugar, and thus the cycle continues over and over, and the health of the patient continues to get worse due to them developing obesity, hypoglycemia, and diabetes just from eating too much sugar in the first place. Just from that example, a person can see that food has serious consequences. Even though Americans say that while they're young they should eat junk food and enjoy their life, they're actually killing themselves from the start. You're not having a life, you're just destroying it. So, how does one stop this vicious cycle related to food? Well, you understand now that the American diet is dead and the consequences of it are severe, so you have to change. It takes work and it's not easy. Sometimes, at first, it may feel that you're depriving yourself of the tasty food that everyone else is eating. This is so untrue. A person must not think of it as depriving themselves, but rather think of it as extending their life and making the quality of it good. You're making yourself thrive. There are so many benefits to eating food that is created by God and is still in its natural form. Getting away from bread is a good start. Yes, I know it sounds difficult because bread is so tasty, but if it's not homemade, it's probably really unhealthy for you. Bread in the store is full of chemicals to preserve it, and when eaten, it turns into a thick paste in the colon. This causes constipation and allows toxins to leak into the body from the chemicals, but also toxins from feces fermenting and rotting in the body due to constipation. Besides that, all of the healthy germs extracted from the bread, and that really means that it has no benefit to your body whatsoever. So besides turning to paste and not having any benefit, it causes your body to become toxic because you have the chemicals from the preservatives, which are toxic to your body itself, but then you also have the fact that when the bread clogs your colon, everything in your colon will rot, and then it will absorb through your intestines into your body, which causes toxins to go everywhere else through your body. If you don't have regular movements, your body is going to become really, really toxic. The next step would be to get rid of milk. This sounds absurd where everyone lives in a society that claims that milk is extremely healthy for the body, but this is nothing but lies. Milk is not terrible for the body. Well, it's still not the best thing either. But the processing that milk goes through in the store is what makes it incredibly unhealthy for the body. An interesting fact that Dr. John Colbert pointed out is that humans are the only mammals on Earth that continue to drink milk after reaching the point of your anatomical maturity. Most people don't realize that they have some form of an allergy to dairy. Milk is pasteurized through heating, which causes the proteins in it to change in such a way that the human body is not able to digest and assimilate it properly. As a result, the body mounts some form of an allergic reaction to it. A person may not even realize that their body is reacting to it just because they don't feel any symptoms, but the only way to know for sure is if a specific test on the body's ability to handle milk and its proteins are performed. The three allergies related to milk now are classified as milk sensitivity, milk intolerance, and lactose intolerance. Milk intolerance is different than lactose intolerance. Milk intolerance means that when your body produces lactase, which is the enzyme that digests lactose, you're actually reacting to the lactase that your body is producing. Yes, I'm saying that just because your body is making something doesn't always mean your body will be able to handle it properly. By cutting out these two foods alone, a person will experience over time things like mental clarity, fewer toxins in your body, resulting in more energized awareness and less sluggish feelings. No aches, no unexplainable pains, better sleep patterns, the list goes on and on. Even though there are many steps that one could take to get rid of bad things from their diet, the biggest and most helpful change to get rid of anything processed is to get rid of anything processed. Change the diet to all natural foods. Now, I'm not saying to buy foods labeled organic or all natural, but rather buy and eat foods that are in their natural form that was created by God. A common name for this approach that I'm sure you've probably heard is the paleo diet. A lot of people say that this is just another fad diet that will pass through eventually, but this statement is so wrong. The paleo diet has existed since the beginning of time. It was what God designed humans to eat after the fall of Adam and Eve. Well, a lot of people ask, what is the paleo diet besides just eating food in their natural form? But that's just it. The paleo diet isn't a diet per se, but it's rather a way of life. The term paleo means to eat foods that man would have eaten in the Paleolithic period or the caveman era, as scientists like to say. This would mean that one's diet would consist of a variety of fruits and vegetables, lots of nuts and natural oils found in flax or avocados, and lean meat with a very small portion of red meats. The main factor with eating a paleo diet, though, is that there's no negative side effects. Even though today some people are trying to say that eating fruits and vegetables is unhealthy, this has no scientific basis. There have been so many scientific tests for years that prove that fruits and vegetables are the healthiest things that one can eat. After all, where do you think the saying, eat an apple a day and the doctor will go away, comes from? When one eats a paleo diet, they will experience things like the ability to think and perform tasks faster. They'll have clearer skin that's acne-free, and their skin will be shiny because it's so healthy. You'll have healthier and thicker hair, better digestive processes, which we already know leads to a less toxic body overall. You'll have better sleep patterns, and a healthier approach to life overall. The best benefit to this diet is that one runs a very low to no chance of getting the food-related diseases that most people suffer from today. The food in America is flawed beyond measure. People feel pressured to eat what everybody else is eating, especially teenagers. But the food that everybody else is eating is so unhealthy for the body. Many people die of obesity or diabetes when just a few changes could be made if cut in time, changes that would save their lives. Following God's design for health regarding food is the best option that a person has to optimum health. After all, God's plan for humanity is always what is best. Man has tried to take God's job with food, and it has resulted in more people dying or suffering from diseases because of food. It has resulted in more money being spent on drugs to help the diseases and supplements to fill what processed foods could not. Get away from processed foods that are really junk foods and start eating a diet that was created and designed by God. Say no to processed foods and say hello to paleo.